Man since creation to infinite. As God intended to create souls, He said, "Be," and countless souls came into existence. By and beside God were the souls of the prophets. In the second row were the souls of the saints, and then in the third row were the souls of the faithful ones. They were followed by the souls of the common folks, and then at a distant row that fell beyond God's sight were created the souls of women, who were followed by the animal, botanical and mineral souls respectively. Mineral souls were unable to move on God's right, but the angels, followed by the heavenly themselves, who were unable to see God's face. For this reason, the angels cannot see God. Behind them were the souls of mortals, angel-like creatures, which later came into the world as auxiliary assistants to prophets and saints. To God's left were the souls of the jinns, followed by infernal spirits and evil spirits who aided the Satan in his work after coming into the world. Souls on God's right and left, and those beyond God's sight could not witness the divine manifestation. This is the reason why jinns, angels, and women may speak with God, but they cannot see God. There was a spheroid of fire in the terrestrial globe. It was commanded to cool down. Thereafter, its fragments scattered in the space. The moon, Mars, Jupiter, Earth, and the star are all fragmented parts, whereas the sun is a remnant of spheroid of fire. Initially, Earth was nothing but ashes in the whole. Mineral souls were sent down to consolidate the ashes into stone. Then botanical spirits were sent down to sprout trees and plantation in the rocks. Thereafter, animals appeared from animal spirits coming to earth. God further asked all souls if He was their creator. All souls affirmed in positive and prostrated. Even the souls of the stones and trees prostrated to God. The stars and the trees prostrated to God. Chapter Rahman, the Quran. Then God created a model world and its luxuries in order to test and examine the souls. And God said, "Should anyone seek it, they may obtain it." Too many souls turned their back on God and leapt towards the model luxuries of the world. Therefore, they were declared hell-bound in the book of their faith. Then God depicted the scene of the paradise, which was better than the latter, and concerned itself with the servitude and obedience. Many souls leapt towards it, and the paradise was written in their faith. Too many souls were indecisive, hence they were placed in between the Lord and the devil. They were entangled between the two when they came in this world. Whoever influenced them first, they became theirs. Many souls fixed their eyes on the divine splendor. They desired none of the world or paradise. God loved them and they loved God. Such souls, for the sake of God, shunned the world, became recluse, and lived in jungles. To serve the needs of the souls and for their pleasure, 18,000 types of creature were brought in existence. 6,000 in the sea, 6,000 in the land, and 6,000 in the air and celestial realms. Then God created 7 types of paradise and 7 types of hell. The 7 heaven names are Khuld, Darus Salam, Darul Kharal, Eden, Al-Ma'wa, Na'im, and Firdaus. The 7 hells are Sakhar, Sa'ir, Nut'a, Hutama, Jahim, Jahannam, and Hawiya. All of the above mentioned names are from Suryani, the language that God speaks with the angel. It is common tenet in all religions that God may send to hell or heaven whosoever he wishes to. If a soul had been sent to hell from the scene in the primordial time, it would object, "What crime did I commit?" God would say, "You turned away from me and desired the world." The soul would say that was merely a decision out of poor intelligence. Nevertheless, I did not act upon it. To settle this argument, the souls were sent down on earth. Adam's, that is Shankarji, body was created with clay from paradise, in addition to the human soul. Some other spirits also were placed in the body. Adam's body was still in the process of creation when the Iblis spat at it out of sheer jealousy. The saliva fell on the belly button. The saliva along with its germ entered the body. The Satan is from nation of jinns. According to a prophetic tradition, a satanic jinn is born with every man. Similitude of a body is that of a mud house, and there are 16 spirits enclosed within it, in addition to Hannas, the whisperer, and 4 other birds. Substance in the form of a woman emerged from the left rib of Adam. A soul was placed in it, which came to be known as Eve. Following the forced exit from the paradise, Adam was dropped in Sri Lanka and Eve was in Jeddah. Thus, the Asian lineage began through them. Hence, the remaining souls also started to descend on earth from the heavens periodically. Institutions in the form of religions were established for the training, schooling, and levels of the souls. The schools were then divided, assorted religions, and some others were kept without a religion according to their predestined fate. God-loving souls also came in this world and took birth in Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, and Christian homes. They sought God according to the principles of their religions. For this reason, the elite in all religions adopted hermitage. Some people wrongly project that Islam does not allow hermitage. Prophet Muhammad also went to the cave of Hira. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Khwaja Moinuddin Ajmeri, Data Ali Hajweri, Bari Imam, Baba Farid, Shahbaz Khalandar, Rahmatullah Alayh, etc. acquired high mystical ranks only after they had adopted hermitage, and the saints alone are responsible for the widespread of the religion. Roots of man in the world. As soon as a male sperm enters the womb, a mineral spirit arrives to coagulate the blood. The botanical spirit helps it grow. After 4 months of pregnancy, the biospirit, that is animal spirit, enters the womb, which enables the embryo to move. These spirits are known as the terrestrial spirits. Soon after the baby is delivered, the human soul along with its subtleties is inserted in the baby. These are known as the celestial souls. If the baby expires within the womb of the mother before the delivery takes place, a funeral ceremony is not necessary, as it was yet to become a human being. A funeral ceremony is a must in the event that the baby dies just moments after the delivery, because by then it would have become a human being, owing to the arrival of human soul in him. Nerves, along with its auxiliaries, had settled at the navel point. A man with a stronger mineral spirits likes to live in the mountains. Man's fondness for trees and flowers is due to the botanical spirit in him. Due to dominance of the biospirit, a fondness of animals and behavior like that of animals develops. The nerves, a satanic jinn, resembles a dog in appearance. With its dominance, man develops dog-like behavior and affection for dogs. With the awakening of the faculty of the heart, a human becomes like an angel. After death, the celestial souls return to the paradise. Celestial souls are assigned to one particular body, whereas the terrestrial spirits, including the nerves, are left behind in this world. The terrestrial spirits, after death, are transferred into another newly born human body. They continue to be reallocated to different human beings. The terrestrial spirits are exempt from the day of judgment and accountability. The cleansed spirits of the nafs stay in the graves to continue to worship God and also facilitate humanity with spiritual grace. As Prophet Muhammad on the night of Ascension passed by the grave of Prophet Moses, he saw him engage in worship in his grave. When Prophet reached the celestial sphere, he saw Prophet Moses was present there too. The dominant nafs of sinners join the groups of Satans for their survival. They enter the bodies of human beings to harm them. Subtleties of the nafs are thus known as evil spirits. According to the Bible, Jesus used to cast out evil spirits from those who were possessed. After that, the terrestrial spirits and the nafs remain in this world. The human soul enters either in Illiyin or Sijjiyin, and the Lataif, the faculties of human breast, provided they are enlightened, to go to Illiyin. Otherwise, Lataif are wasted in the grave. Due to the nafs, man became impure. Bulle Shah said, "The self, nafs, brought along with it impurities in me. Otherwise, I had not been impure originally." For acquisition of self-mortification, the celestial books were revealed, and the prophets and the saints were sent. The self was made subject to fear of hellfire and was incited with the pleasure of paradise. Efforts were made through austerities, worship, and Lent so as to tame it. The successful contenders became deserving claimants of the paradise. The elite, however, were able to purify the self by virtue of mystical knowledge, thus becoming God's friends. The doctrine of nafs, the self. It is a satanic cell and navel point is its abode. All the prophets and saints sought refuge from its mischief. Its diet is phosphorus and bad odor, which is also found in bones, coal, and cow dung. All religions insist on a proper bath after copulation because unpleasant odor releases through skin pores during sexual activities. Malodorous drinks and animal meat also are prohibited for consumption. On the day of Azal, primordial, all souls in front of God up to the mineral souls became acquainted with each other and united. The man, inspired by the mineral soul in him, built homes from stones, and he made roofs of homes with the wood of trees. Inspired by the botanical soul in him, he benefited himself from the cool shadows of the trees also. The trees provided him with pure oxygen. Biospirit from the rare roe that became animals in this world were declared lawful for consumption by the man. In addition to this, birds from the same category also were made lawful for consumption. On the left side were created jinns and infernal spirits, followed by evil spirits, which in the end became God's enemy, and the animal, botanical, and mineral spirits that appeared from behind evil spirits developed enmity against human beings. Mineral spirits from this category caused the ashes of earth to turn into coal, the gas from which was harmful for human beings. The botanical spirits from this category brought into existence dangerous, thorny, and man-eating trees. With the animal spirits from this category, man-eating animals and beasts were created, and the birds from the same category, owing to their attribute of enmity against human beings, were declared as unlawful. These birds can be recognized by their trait of eating food with their claws. The souls at God's right were appointed as servants to human beings, message carriers, and helpers. The man was elevated in eminence above all and was appointed as God's vicegerent. Now it depends on the man, his willingness, efforts, and faith whether he accepts the vicegerency or he rejects it. In dreams, the nafs leaves the body and joins evil gatherings of the jinns. In the person guise, nafs is accompanied by the khannas. It resembles an elephant. It sits in between the nafs and the qalb, the heart. It assists the nafs to misguide the man. In addition to this, yet another 4 birds also get clung to the 4 soles of the breast to misguide the man. For example, the cockerel is clung to the heart, that is qalb, which causes lust to prevail in the heart. With dhikr qalb, invocation of the heart, the cockerel is cleansed of lust, hence it begins to differentiate between prohibitions, haram, and permissible, that is halal. This is known as secured heart, qalb salim. The crow is clung to Siri, and Siri is afflicted by greed. The peacock is clung to Khafi, and Khafi is afflicted by jealousy. The pigeon is clung to Akhfa, and Akhfa is afflicted by stinginess. The traits of these birds compel the souls of the breast to adopt greed and jealousy until the souls are enlightened. These 4 birds were taken out from Abraham's body, purified and placed back in his body. After the demise of purified individuals, these birds began to dwell on trees. Individuals who spent certain amount of time in jungles for austerity learned to imitate the voice of these birds, as a result of which these birds became familiar with them, and they helped them with healing minor diseases. An important anecdote: nafs belong to Satan. All the 5 souls of the human breast are related to the 5 grand prophets respectively. Ana belongs to God. Similarly, the body is related to the perfect spiritual guide. Whichever soul is not connected with the concerned is deprived of its spiritual grace. The subtlety of qalb. The prophethood and the knowledge concerning qalb was granted to Adam Safi Allah. The fleshy heart is known as dil in Urdu and fawad in Arabic. The spiritual faculty clung to the physical heart is known as qalb. The prophethood and knowledge pertaining to the faculty of qalb was granted to Adam. According to a prophetic tradition, the heart is different from the faculty of qalb. This phenomenal world is known as Nasud, the terrestrial realm. Beside this, there are other realms also, such as Malakut, the realm of angels, Ankabut, the realm of God's throne, Jabarut, the realms of soul, station of Gabriel, Lahut, the realm of nothingness, Wahdat, the realm of divine unity, and Ahdiyat, the realm of divine oneness. These realms and the creatures thereof pre-existed the explosion of spheroid of fire in the terrestrial realm of Nasud. The angels and the souls were created simultaneously. However, the archangels and the subtleties of the breast, that is Lataif, already existed in these realms. Subsequently, creatures inhabited many planets in the realm of Nasud. Some of the planets have been annihilated and the rest await their end. The archangels and the subtleties of the breast were created 70,000 years prior to the command B of the souls. Qalb was kept within the place of love, and through qalb, man is supposed to be connected with God. Similitude of qalb is like that of a telephone operator between a man and God. Man receives the divine reason and revelation through qalb. A dalil, the divine argument, reason, is always accompanied by ilham, inspiration. The ilham is not authentic if it is not accompanied by a dalil. The worship of all the subtleties of the breast Lataif reaches the empyrean of God, Arshe-Bala, through qalb. However, qalb does not have access beyond the realm of Malakut. Its destination is khuld. Its mode of worship and its method of saying the rosary both lie within the human anatomy. Those that earned paradise but were unaware of this inner worship would regret it in the paradise. Because God says, do they perceive that God would equal them with the pious ones? Because those with the enlightened qalb will continue to remember in the paradise too. Khuld is the lowest grade of the paradise. Worship of the body ends after demise. The unenlightened subtleties of the breast, including the qalb, would either stay weak or decay in the graves. The enlightened and powerful ones would enter the place of Illiyin, subsequent to the day of judgment. New bodies will be given to all. These subtleties, along with the human soul, will be placed in the bodies of immortal saints who saw God in the phenomenal world. Those who manage to revive their subtleties and remember God in this world would remember God in the hereafter as well. Consequently, their level and ranks would be constantly promoted. Those whose hearts were blind here, they would remain blind in the hereafter as well. This phenomenal world is the place of practice for deeds and actions, so they would become stagnant in terms of performance of good deeds. The Christians, the Jews, the Hindus also are aware of the subtleties. The Hindu term for subtleties is Shaktiya, Indriya, and the Muslim term for them is Lataif. Qalb is located on the left of the heart, 2 inches away, and its color is yellow. Consequent to its revival, man begins to observe and feel yellowish light in the eyes. Some spiritual mentors also heal people with colors. Most people regard the counseling of their heart to be truthful. The qalb of a man is senseless, that is sanobar. Its counseling may be influenced by its naivety, the whisperer, khannas, or the self. Therefore, it may err in judgment. Reliance on a qalb sanobar, senseless heart is folly. When the heart is revived with God's remembrance, it begins to differentiate between good and bad and gains sensibility. This is known as qalb salim, the secured heart. Due to the abundance of God's remembrance, it is turned and directed towards God. This is known as qalb munib, the heart turned to God. It is able to prevent the man from committance of vice. However, it still lacks the power of correct decisions. It turns to qalb shaheed, the witnessing heart, when God's light begins to fall upon it. A prophetic tradition relates, divine merciful sight descend upon broken hearts and broken graves. At this moment, undoubtedly, submit to whatever comes from the heart, as theophanies turn nafs also into mutma'inna, the divinely content self. God is then closer to him than his jugular vein. At this stage, God then declares, I become his tongue with which he speaks, and I become his hands with which he holds.
The human soul. The prophethood and the knowledge concerning the soul was granted to Abraham. The human soul is near to the right side of the breast. It is awakened by loud chanting and visualization of God's name upon it. Consequently, a throb-like movement becomes prominent at it also. The name Ya Allah is synchronized with this subtlety. Now two subtleties are engaged in God's remembrance. Such a person's spiritual status is greater than that of those who only revive their hearts. The soul is dark red in color, revival of which renders access to the realm of Jabarut, wrath and anger are attached to it, which transform into majesty by the divine heat. The subtlety of Siri, that is secret. The prophethood and the knowledge concerning Siri was granted to Moses. This is located between the left side of the breast and the center of the chest. It is revived by loud chanting and visualization of the name Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. Its color is white. It reaches Lahud, the realm of nothingness, through dreams and spiritual journey. With the addition of this subtlety, now three of them are engaged in God's remembrance, and the rank of such a person is further increased. The subtlety of Qafi, that is arcane. Its prophethood and knowledge was granted to Jesus Christ. This subtlety is towards the right of the breast from center of the chest. It is revived by loud chanting of the name Ya Wahid. It is green in color. It reaches Wahdat, the realm of divine unity. Now four of them are engaged in God's remembrance, and the rank of such a person is further increased. The subtlety of Akhfa, that is obscure. Its prophethood and knowledge was granted to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This subtlety is in the center of the chest. It is revived by loud chanting of the name Ya Ahad. It is violet in color. It is also related to the veil in the realm of Wahdat, that is realm of divine unity, behind which is the throne of God. The knowledge of five subtleties of the breast was granted to the five grand messengers categorically. Half a portion of the knowledge of each subtlety was transferred to the saints from these grand messengers. There were thus 10 parts of the esoteric knowledge, and the saints then transmitted this knowledge to the elite. The knowledge of the exterior, the physical body, and utterance of the tongue all relate to the realm of Nasut and the Nafs. This is for common folks. Its knowledge is stored in scripture, which has 30 chapters. The esoteric knowledge also was granted to the prophets through revelations, that is Wahi. Hence it is also known as the esoteric scripture. Sometimes the esoteric knowledge would slip out of Muhammad's tongue in public, that which was confined to the elite only. Therefore, some of the verses of the Quran would later be abrogated. This inner knowledge was practiced and carried on from one heart to another in the chain of saints. Now this knowledge has been made accessible to the common folks also through books. The subtlety of Ana. It is located in the head and is colorless. Dhikr, remembrance of Yahoo, is its culmination. It
having gained spiritual strength, riches, and sees God unveiled, and manages to speak with God. This is the station of divine lovers. Besides this, some of God's favorites are also conferred on them other special divine spirits such as Tifle Nuri, Spirit of God's light, and Jussai Tawfiq-e Ilahi, Spirit of God. Understanding such elites is beyond the power of intellect. Through the subtlety of Ana, God can be seen in dreams. Through the Jussai Tawfiq-e Ilahi, divine sub-spirit, God can be seen in transcendental meditation, that is Muraqibah. And those that possess Tifle Nuri, God's image gifted to the elite of the elite, which are only 7 in total, and they are known as Sultan ul Fuqara, see God in the state of consciousness. The world known them as the might of God. They may on their account convey anyone to the Maqam-e-Mahmud, the station of praise and glory, either through worship, austerities, or through their merciful glance. Believer or disbeliever, dead or alive, matters not in their eyes. Just as the thief became saint with a single merciful glance of Abdul Qadir Jilani, Abu Bakr Havari and Manga Daku also became saints following a glance from such elites. All 5 of the Grand Messengers were categorically given knowledge pertaining to the subtlety they belonged to. Hence, spiritually continued to grow in strength and quality. Whichever subtlety you will revive and engage with God's remembrance, you will deserve to obtain the grace of concerned Grand Messenger, and will be connected with him. Whichever subtlety comes under the theophanies of God, you will be granted sainthood concerning that particular subtlety. Access to the 7 realms and acquisition of different graces in the 7 paradises are also through the subtleties of the breast. Functions of the subtleties in the human body. Subtlety of Akhfa, the obscure. It enables the man to speak. Without it, the man is mute, lacking the faculty of speech by birth, even with a sound tongue. The difference between man and animal is on account of these subtleties. If the subtlety of Akhfa does not enter the body at the time of birth for any reason, bringing it in the body was the duty of the concerned messenger. Then the mute would begin to speak. Subtlety of Siri, the secret. It enables man to see. In case this subtlety is absent in man at the time of birth, he is confirmed blind. Bringing it into the body was the duty of the concerned Grand Messenger. The sight then is restored to the blind man also. The subtlety of qalb, the heart, if this is absent in the body, similitude of the man is like that of an animal, unacquainted with God and distant from him. He lacks sentiments and hunger for God. The task of bringing it back into the body was assigned to the concerned Grand Messengers only. Later, the wonders and miracles of the Prophet in form of saintly marvels were granted to the saints also. As a missing subtlety is returned to the body through a prophet or a saint, even the deaf, the mute and blind are healed. The subtlety of Ana. The man is mentally impaired due to its absence in the body, even if the nerves of the brain seem to function normally. The subtlety of Qafi, the arcane. Its absence in the body leaves the man deaf, even if all the ear holes are open wide. Physical flaw also shows up a similar syndrome, in which case it is curable. However, medical help does not serve the purpose in case the concerned subtleties are absent in the body, unless a prophet or a saint extends his help. The subtlety of nafs, the self. Through nafs, the human heart is inclined towards the world and its content, whereas the subtlety of qalb steers the man towards God. The word Allah. God communicates with the angels in Suryani, which is spoken in the celestial spheres. Adam spoke the same language while he was in paradise. When Adam, Safiyullah, and Eve descended on earth, they resided in the Arab region. This language, as their progeny, spread in the world through Arabic, Persian and Latin, rich English through literal evolution. People called God with different names in different languages. Adam resided in the Arab region. Therefore, so many Suryani words are still present in the Arabic language. Adam was known as Adam Safiullah. The word Safiullah is from Suryani. Nuh was called as Nuh Nabi Allah. Abraham was called Ibrahim, Khalilullah, then Moses as Musa Kalimallah, Jesus as Isa Ruhullah, and Muhammad as Muhammad Rasulullah. All these phrases, mottos, were already written on the preserved scripturum in the Suryani language prior to the arrival of these prophets in the world. This is why Muhammad said that he had already been a prophet before his arrival in this world. Some people perceive the word Allah is a Muslim name for God. This is not true. Muhammad's father's name was Abdullah, which predates Islam. The word Allah, even before Islam, has been used in mottos of all prophets. After their creation, the first word the souls uttered was Allah. Adam's soul also uttered Ya Allah before it entered his body. Some religions understand the truth behind this secret, therefore they do not hesitate to use the word Allah for God's remembrance. Some others deprive themselves of the grace of the word Allah due to doubts and reservation to its truthfulness. Any name alluding to God is worthy of respect and it directs one towards God. However, these names differ in effectiveness. According to numerology and syllable laws, every word has a separate numerical value. This is also one of the many types of heavenly knowledge. These units encompass the entire creation. Sometimes these units are in disagreement with each other according to the knowledge of astronomy. This leaves the man under worry and stress. Many people seeking zodiac charts from the expert of this knowledge name the newborn. Just as the Arabic alphabets, for example, Alif, Ba, Jim, Dal, 1, 2, 3, 4 have a numeric value 10. Similarly, every name has a separate numeric value. When God was called upon by different names, these names became a cause of disharmony with each other according to alphabetical knowledge. Had all humanity called upon God by one name, all would have been united inwardly, despite different religions. Then they would say, as did Nanak Sahib and Baba Farid, all souls are created with God's light. However, their environment and their vicinities are separate. The angels are taught languages of the world before they are deployed in the world. It is necessary for the members of all nations of the Prophet that they repeat the declaration of their respective faith, as it was granted by God for purification, identity, and grace in the original language at the time of particular prophet. Affirmation of the declaration of faith is a must for all to adopt a religion. Verbal vows, as in the marriage, are mandatory for admission into paradise also. But in the Western countries, most Muslims and Christians are not aware of the original wording of their declaration of faith and the original name of their prophets. Those who confine themselves to verbal affirmation of the declaration of the faith discard spiritual deeds of the heart, amale soliha, and those who do not affirm the declaration even verbally, they shall not enter the paradise, and those only shall enter the paradise without accountability whose hearts observe the declaration of faith. The celestial books in their original form only serve as means to convene the aspirants to God. But when the celestial books and their translations were tampered with, just as adulterated flour is harmful to the stomach, similarly these altered books became harmful to the religions. Thus, the followers of one religion and one prophet were divided into many sects. For acquisition of Siratul Mustaqim, the divinely established path, seek guidance through Noor, God's light also, the method of producing divine light. In the olden days, fire used to be produced from the method of rubbing stones together. The rubbing of iron objects together also produces a spark. The splashing of water also produces electricity. Similarly, in human beings, the circulating blood, meaning the throbbing of the heart, also produces electricity. A human body possesses 1.5 volts of electricity, which sustain agility in him. The electricity and agility is lessened in the old age due to the falling speed of throbs. Initially, the heartbeats have to be made prominent. Aspirants have utilized various methods such as dancing, sports activity, exercise, workout, and through loud chanting with strike of God's names also. As the heartbeats get prominent, try to synchronize Allah, Allah with every beat or Allah with one heartbeat and Hu with the other. Place your hand on the heart sometimes. Feel your heartbeats and try to synchronize the name Allah. Occasionally synchronize Allah with the pace of the pulse. Imagine the word Allah is entering your heart. Dhikr, chanting of Allahu, is better and more effective than that of Dhikrullah. Those reluctant and afraid of Hu, instead of deprivation, they might as well synchronize just Allah in their heartbeats. People of the Kuriya, Science of God's Remembrance, and Virdu Vadayif, verbal chanting with the rosary, ought to stay as clean as possible. Those who show respect, they obtain the benevolence, and those who don't show respect, they remain deprived. The first method. On a piece of paper, write the word Allah with a black pen or pencil for as long as you feel comfortable. Do this exercise every day. One day, the word Allah will begin to float before your eyes. Then, try to bring it in your heart from the eyes through visualizing it. The second method. Write the word Allah in a yellow color on a white bulb, 0 watt, a type of bulb that we normally use at night time in bedrooms. Try to absorb it in your eyes by looking at it anytime during the day or just before you sleep. Once it is absorbed within your eyes, visualize it to bring it in your heart. The third method. This method is suitable for those that carry out this practice under the guidance of a spiritual guide and acquire spiritual help from their guide due to their personal spiritual relation and connection. Sit in isolation. Use your index finger to visualize and to write the word Allah on your heart. You may as well seek help from your spiritual guide in this matter and visualize he is holding your finger and writing the word Allah on your heart. Practice this daily until the word Allah is seen written on your heart. Through the earlier mentioned methods, Allah is inscribed as seen written outside on the paper. When the word Allah begins to synchronize with the heartbeats, it gradually begins to glitter. Since in this method, help of the spiritual guide is available, the word Allah is seen beautifully written and shining on the heart from the beginning. Many prophets and saints came in this world during loud chanting as a test. You may visualize all the prophets and saints one by one. Whoever your destiny is attached with will appear before you. Your heartbeats will rise in chanting and you will see spiritual growth also. Then select him for visualization because every saint is related to a certain prophet in the spiritual system. Though a living prophet is not a condition, the destiny of every devote lies within a certain saint. For spiritual benevolence, the spiritual guide must be physically alive. Occasionally, some lucky aspirant is granted Malakuti faiz from the Kamil Zat, divinely accomplished guide, who is living but not physically. However, it is rare. Verily, the tombs of the departed saints may render mundane benevolence. This is known as Owaisi faiz. Owaisi faiz is a form of spiritual training where the guide renders spiritual grace in dreams and by esoteric means, whether or not the guide is living. Aspirants in Owaisi faiz are often troubled and confused by what they see in dreams and kash spiritual unveiling. This is because their guide is in Batin, esoteric realm, and the Satan is also in Batin, and it becomes so difficult to recognize who is who. The concerned knowledge is as important as the faiz spiritual grace itself, and a living spiritual guide is more suitable. Faiz without required knowledge will turn the aspirant into majzoob, an enlightened person who lost the intellect in God's love. Faiz accompanied by ilm, the required knowledge, turns the aspirant into a mahboob, beloved of God. Mahboob renders dunyavi faiz, mundane benevolence, and ruhani faiz, spiritual grace and training, to people through his ilm, whereas the majzoob renders dunyavi faiz to people by beating them with sticks and swearing at them. If none in your visualization appears to help you, you might as well turn to His Divine Eminence Ra Gohar Shahi for help. Religious affiliation is not mandatory. However, one must not be predestinedly ill-fated. A large number of people may obtain the grace of God's name, initiation of heart, from the image of His Divine Eminence Gohar Shahi on the moon also. The method of obtaining the spiritual grace from the moon When the full moon is in the east, look at it carefully. Say Allah thrice as you see Gohar Shahi's picture on the moon, and now you are blessed. Now start the exercise without any worries or fear, according to the method mentioned here. Verily, the image of His Divine Eminence Gohar Shahi on the moon has spoken with many individuals in all languages. You also may speak with the image on the moon. Chapter on Muraqabah, Transcendental Meditation. Most people try to establish meditation without awakening and spiritually strengthening their souls. Either the Satan traps them or they fail to establish the meditation at all. Meditation is suitable for the advanced level seekers only, who have purified their hearts and mortified their selves, that is nafs. Trying to establish muraqabah is an act of folly for the beginners of the path, regardless of the nature of worship used therewith. Gathering the strength of the souls with God's light and arriving at their concerned station is muraqabah. Sainthood is 1/40th part of prophethood. All dreams, all muraqabah, all ilham, all wahi, revelation through Gabriel of a prophet are correct. Therefore, it does not need verification. However, only 40 out of 100 dreams, muraqabah and ilham, revelation direct from God, of the saints are correct, and the rest are wrong. Hence, it needs esoteric knowledge for its verification. Identification of God is not possible without the required knowledge. The lowest level of muraqabah is established only after the awakening of the subtlety of qalb. It is not possible without the opening of the heart. One shock brings the person back into consciousness. Istikhara, seeking divine help, also relates to the subtlety of the heart, that is qalb. The next stage of muraqabah is with the subtlety of the human soul. It takes 3 shocks to return to the consciousness. The third muraqabah is established together with the subtleties of the human soul and ana. The human soul travels up to the realm of Jabarut along with subtlety of ana, just as Jibrail travelled along with Muhammad up to the realm of Jabarut. Whilst in muraqabah, such people are so deeply lost in that state that they remain unaware of their surroundings even if they are buried in graves. Companions of the cave were in similar muraqabah, because of which they remain in a sleeping state for over a period of 300 years. Whenever Abdul Qadir Jilani, a saint from Baghdad, would occupy with such a muraqabah in the jungle, the thieves from the jungle would bury him in a grave considering him dead. The muraqabah would always break just before the burial. Recognition of extraordinary inspiration and revelation from God. As an aspirant, following the awakening and enlightenment of the subtleties of the breast becomes worthy of receiving divine theophanies. God converses with him. God is absolute power, and He can converse with human beings by any means or methods. However, He has introduced a unique method in order to safeguard His friends from falling prey to evil deception. Firstly, the text appears on the heart in Suryani language, along with its translation in the language of the seeker. The text is white and bright, and the eyes close involuntarily and watch the text internally. The text then passes through qalb and moves on the subtlety of siri, as a result of which it gets even brighter. Akhfa adds more brightness to it before it finally arrives to the tongue, and the tongue spontaneously begins to read out the text. If this is an evil distortion, an enlightened heart dims the text, and if this text is powerful, then the subtleties of the siri or akhfa efface the text. If supposedly, due to the weakness in the subtleties of the breast, the text reaches the tongue then stops it from utterances. This type of inspiration is exceptional to the elite of the saints. God conveys messages to common saints through angels and souls. The Wahi revelation is exclusively classified to the prophets only, and its text is always accompanied by Gabriel. Who deserve the paradise? Some predestined hellbound people endeavor to earn the paradise by way of good deeds and worship, but in the end they are rejected by God as the Satan was, because they inherit bukhl, stinginess, takabbur, false pride, and hasad, jealousy, One who has even a tiniest amount of bukhl, hasad and takabbur shall not enter the paradise. Predestined paradise-bound individuals are easily recognizable, even if they do not perform any worship. Such people are kind, pure, free of jealousy, covetousness, and they are generous. Should they engage in worship also, such people may attain a higher level of faith. God creates divine concession for such people for their salvation. Some people stay suspended in between and do have a continuing record of their good and bad deeds. And there are some elite of the elite individuals, and they did love God in the primordial time. They are carefree of the hell or the heaven. Rather, they sacrifice all the emotional, mental and physical belongings and attachments for the sake of God's love. They manage to enlighten their soul with the divine mercy and God's remembrance. Moreover, they manage to see God. For such people alone is reserved the paradise of Firdaus. For category as such, the prophets declared some people would enter the paradise without accountability. Explanation. Luxuries of the world were written in the book of fate for those who were shown the model luxuries of the world. Such souls put even their life on stake to gain worldly pleasures. They committed crime as horrible as robbery, bribery, usury, and rejected even God's unity, Wahdaniyat. Some of the souls from the above-mentioned category adopted religions and performed worship to gain paradise. However, their attempts were wasted like that of Azazel, the devil, because the religion or faith they adopted was either blasphemous to God or it was disapproved by God, hence it hurtled in their way. The second category of souls who opted for the paradise laid foremost priority on worship and austerities along with mundane chores. Greed of themselves and palaces in the paradise made them run to the worship places. Thus, they thrived in obtaining paradise. For those who, from this category, became lazy in regards to performance of worship, a divine concession earned them a place in the paradise as they were already paradise-born in the faith. However, they could not achieve the ranks equal to those of the pious ones in the paradise. For such people, God says, do they perceive that we would equal them to the pious ones? As there are 7 grades of paradise, the sources of guidance for the common folks are the prophets, the books, the gurus, and the saints. They must enter a religion and affirm a declaration of faith, that is kalima. The elite come under the graceful sight of God without a religion or a book. In other words, the light guides them. It is stated in the scripture, God guides through the divine light whosoever he wishes to. It is said that the declaration of faith is an obligation for entry into the paradise. Remember the fact that the souls are to enter the paradise, not these bodies, and the kalima is to be declared at the time of entry into the paradise. Therefore, the souls will declare the kalima in Maqam-e-Deed, station of beholding, at any time, or they might as well do it after death, just as the souls of Prophet Muhammad's father, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mother and uncle were granted to affirm it after their physical demise. Bear in mind that the elite of the elite soul had already affirmed the declaration of faith and had taken the necessary vows and had obtained the verification before their descent in this world. The Prophet Muhammad said, I had already been a prophet prior to my arrival in this world. This is the utterance of the soul for the souls, as the body was given in this world only. The leaders exist only if there are nations to lead. Similarly, the prophet exists if there are followers to follow. In the absence of followers, prophets are not required. Then such people, the saints, are sent into different religions, some in the guise of Baba Farid and some others in the guise of Guru Nanak. The souls in search of God do not mind their religion, and despite different religions, they seek guidance from whomsoever they believe is connected with God. Ghaus Ali Shah, a saint, wrote in his book Tazkirah-e-Ghausiyya, I obtained spiritual grace from Hindu sages also. The Muslim clerics could not understand the concealed secret behind it, so they issued fatwas of death penalty for Ghaus Ali Shah. They threatened the Muslims that their houses would be set on fire if that particular book was found in their possession. Interestingly enough, the book is still available in both India and Pakistan, and it is very popular. Some nations accepted the prophets and some others rejected them. To the nations rejected them, God nevertheless sent down the guides according to their religion. They taught their nations to save them from sins. The guides endeavored to turn the direction of the followers towards the Lord through their own method of worship, rituals, and customs. They taught them to love God and establish peace. If such individuals were not around, all religions would have become thirsty of each other's blood today. Such souls receive guidelines from Vishnu Maharaj, that is Khidr, also who knows the secret of all religions. Which individuals qualify for taqwa, pity, ilmul yaqeen, belief based upon knowledge? Such people are worldly. They are at maqam shunid, belief based on hearsay. They have belief based on knowledge. Their faith is based on hearsay, and they have a tendency of going astray. They obtain livelihood not through pity but by making efforts, may it be earned by way of halal permissible or haram prohibited. Ainul yaqeen, the eye of certainty. Individuals from this category are known as tarakul dunya, those that live in the world among people. However, they abstain themselves from luxuries of the world. Their heart and inclination is towards God. They are often shown divine visions. Their station is that of the seeing God. They earn by permissible means, and anything prohibited hurts them. Haqqul yaqeen, belief based upon truth. Their station is that of rasid, intercession to God. God grants them a rank, and they come under the theophanies of God and become indifferent to the world. They live among people in the world, yet refrain from both permissible and prohibited enterprises. God provides for them from unseen resources even if they adopt a solitary lifestyle in the jungles. This is the station of taqwa, pity. Although the beginners in the spirituality do claim to possess taqwa, they do not successfully maintain it. Taqdeer, the fate. There are two types of fate. Azal, already decided fate. Mu'allaq, indecisive fate. Some people inquire, why need we make an effort for the sustenance when it is already written in the fate? Makhdum Jahaniya replied, making efforts for obtaining the sustenance is also written in the fate. For example, a flower vase has been placed for you on the roof. This is Taqdeer-e-Azal. In order to get to the flower vase, you have to climb up through the stairs onto the roof. This is Mu'allaq. Which is your choice? It is for this conditional part that there will be reckoning on the day of judgment, and not in relation to what was destined in Azal. When you would climb onto the roof, you would collect what was written down for you and would obtain your fate. If you were lazy and did not get up to the roof, then you would be deprived of it. On the other hand, if someone else in whose fate there is no flower vase manages to get onto the roof by the stairs or by some considerable effort, then he would still be deprived of it. The third category of the soul. Those that desired neither the world nor the paradise and gazed at God's face only, sought God in this world and sacrificed all in search for God. Many kings also abandoned their kingdoms, made the jungle their abode, and put up with hunger and thirst. Some of the aspirants spent many years sitting in the rivers. After successful spiritual discipline, they became known as God's friends. God deputized them on different saintly posts and divine assignments, and they became a divine remedy, a means of hope for hellbound souls. Just as a famous poet, Iqbal, mentions in one of his poems, a glance of a godly man changes the fate. One must have physically seen the spiritual guide upon each birth of terrestrial spirits. A relation with the guru of the previous birth or a relation with the ancestral guru becomes nullified with the present body. Just as the prophethood becomes invalid after the arrival of the grand messenger, just as Musa Kalim Allah was one of the grand messengers, and all the prophets that came after Moses, their religions were abrogated on arrival of Jesus, Spirit of God, Isa Ruhullah. And the prophet that came outside Arabia in the duration between the time of Jesus, Spirit of God, and Muhammad, all of them were abrogated on the arrival of Muhammad, peace be upon him. The religions founded by the grand messengers have been valid until date. These grand messengers are Adam Safiullah, Ibrahim Khalilullah, Ibrahim, Musa Kalimullah, Moses, Isa Ruhullah, Jesus, and Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad. And every saint follows in the spiritual footstep of the grand prophets, meaning receives the divine grace from their respective sublety of the breast. Because all 5 sublities of the human breast are related to the 5 grand messengers, on account of this, spiritual benevolence and prophethood thereof remains valid until the day of judgment. There is a general belief that one must recite the declaration of faith in order to enter the paradise. Please be warned that it does not refer to the declaration of faith belonging to a single prophet in particular, and it alludes to the declaration of faith and religions belonging to all grand messengers. Remember well, Muhammad said, I have come to reform in what has been altered and not to deny any religion or celestial book of any grand messenger. The spiritual doctrine and religion of Adam Safiullah continues even today. Those that possess zikr-e-qalb, that whip and observe humility in God's name, that repent over their sins, and who seek to avoid sins fall under the category of first religion. And this was the primary prophethood and the primary form of worship. Every Ghaus, leader of the chain of the saints, and every saint is on the footstep, the particular spiritual path of a particular prophet. For example, the category mentioned above is on the footsteps of Adam Safiullah. Mujaddid al-Fithani said, I am on the footsteps of Moses. The chain of Qalandar emerges from Jesus Christ. Abdul Qadir Jilani comes from Mashrabe Muhammad, the spiritual path of Muhammad. Ponder, progeny of which of the many Adams do you come from? According to various celestial books, 14,000 different Adams came in this world, and some said Adam Safiullah is the 14,000th and the last Adam as well. Verily, there came many Adams to this world. When Adam Safiullah was being molded with clay, the angels tipped, pointing towards Adam. This too would cause mischief and strife in the world. The angels' remarks show that they were already aware of the stories of earlier Adams. Had there not been more than one Adam, how would they know as to how he would have behaved once he is in the world? The Godhead tablet contains various languages, various kalimas, various jantar mantar, magical codes, various gods' names, various scriptural verses, and even mentions magic's act which the 2 angels Harut and Marut taught people. And as punishment, both of the angels are still hanging upside down in a well in Babul, Babylon, one of the cities of Egypt. Each of the Adam was taught a language. Then the prophets were sent in this nation for their guidance. It is therefore said that 124,000 prophets came to the world. It is 6,000 years since Adam Safiullah came to this world. Had a prophet been sent every year to this world, the total number would not have exceeded 6,000. Some time later, this nation were destroyed due to their disobedience, just as archaeological excavation found the ancient cities later along with the writings in ancient languages, incomprehensible even today. Some nation was destroyed by hurricane, and some people survived in certain areas just like some people survived after the Noah's hurricane. Finally, Adam Safiullah was risen to an exalted nature above all others and was sent in Arabia. All of the grand messengers were born in his progeny. The languages of the various Adam remain in practice among their surviving nations. When the last Adam came, they were taught the Suryani language. When the children of Adam Safiullah traveled far and wide for tourism, they came across members of previous nations also. Some of them who either liked the place or were inspired by the lavish green fields settled in those places. Suryani was the language of the land in Arabia. Through intermingling of various nations, Suryani evolved other languages too, with Persian, Latin, Sanskrit, and finally the English language emerged through the process of lingo evolution. Progeny of several different Adams was settled in various islands. One of the Adam was a gypsy. The race of this particular Adam still lives and is responsible for discovering various nations. The nations that lived in island across the ocean were unaware of each other. A long sea voyage was not possible either by horses or paddled boats. Columbus successfully made a motorist ship through which he was the first one to have reached the American soil. He saw red people at the shore. He thought, and he said, "Perhaps I have arrived in India, and they are Red Indians. This is why this nation is called the Red Indians. They still live in North Dakota." I asked the chief of a Red Indian tribe, "Who is your Adam?" He replied, "According to our religion, our Adam is in Asia, whose wife is Eve. But according to our history, our Adam came from a mountain in South Dakota. The mountain is still marked as historical place." It's a general perception among people that the English and the Americans have a fair complexion owing to cold weather in their regions. But that is not true. Ancient lineage of dark complexion Adams still exists in the same region, which could not develop fair complexion until date. Therefore, this is the reason that the color, the appearance, the temperament, and the intellect, the language, and the diet of human beings differ. The chain of the progeny of Adam Sapphira did not spread beyond the Middle East. This is why the people of Middle East resemble each other in features. It is generally believed that Adam Sapphira descended in Sri Lanka and subsequently migrated to the Arab region where he lived all his life. His grave is in the Arab region. The question is, who pointed out the descent of Adam Sapphira and his footproofs in Sri Lanka, which are still preserved. It establishes the fact that some tribe had pre-existed Adam Sapphira's descent in Sri Lanka. The prophethood and sainthood terminated in the nation that were destroyed. Their survivors, being deprived of these spiritual dignitaries, went astray sometime later. As these lands were gradually discovered, the saints from Asia reached these lands and taught the locals their respective religions. Today, the Asian religions have begun to be widely practiced throughout these regions. Jesus was from Jerusalem. Moses was from Bethlehem. Muhammad was from Mecca. Noah and Abraham also were from Arabia. Some of the generations were tormented and destroyed. Some other generation, as a punishment, were transformed into bears and apes. Some of the survivors, out of the sheer fear, inclined towards God, and the others regarded God as a penalizer. Therefore, they developed contempt for God. They dismissed all the commandments of God and perceived that God never existed. Man is an insect, and heaven and hell are but a myth. In Moses' era, the nation that was transformed into apes as a punishment headed towards Europe. The mothers to be from this nation still gave birth to human babies. This nation still exists. They believe themselves to originate from apes. The nation which was transformed into bears headed towards the jungles of Africa. The mothers to be of the time bore human babies. It further developed yet another generation known as mums, Bigfoot. They have long hairs all over the body. They are mostly women. They often kidnap humans. Religions do not interest them. Owing to their appearance as humans, they tend to cover the private parts of the body with 3 leaves. One of the many Adams, due to his wrongdoings, was awarded 1,000 years punishment and was transformed into a snake. His surviving nation exists in the guise of a typical snake called the Ruha. Exactly 1,000 years after birth, they obtained the ability to transfigure as a human being. Once upon a time, Alexander the Great had been to a jungle for hunting. As he was passing through, he saw a beautiful woman crying. She, when asked, said that she was the princess of China. She said that she had come there with her husband for hunting. A lion ate her husband, and thus she had been left behind alone. Alexander the Great said to her that he would have sent her back to China if she went with him. She said that her husband had died, and she was afraid she wouldn't be welcome back home. Alexander the Great took her home and married her. A few months later, Alexander the Great complained of a stomach ache. All sorts of remedies were tried on him, but his health did not improve. The pain worsened. The doctors were helpless. A snake charmer visited Alexander the Great to cure him. He told him in private that he could cure him. However, there were a few conditions. He further said, "If I fail to cure you within a few days, you may get me killed by all means." He advised, "Tonight, prepare rice with lentils with an extra bit of salt. You and your wife should eat plenty of it. Lock the room from inside so that neither of you are able to leave the room. Do not sleep, rather pretend to your wife that you are sleeping and make sure not even a single drop of water is available in the room. Alexander the Great did as he was advised. Sometime during the night, his wife felt thirsty and she noticed the water pot was empty. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. She looked at her husband and assumed he was in deep sleep. She transfigured into a snake and found her way through a hole. She drank water, re-entered the room in the form of a snake, and then she returned to the human form again. Alexander the Great saw it all. In the morning, he told the snake charmer all that he saw the previous night. The snake charmer said, "Your wife is a female snake that transfigures after 1,000 years, and her poison caused the pain in your stomach." Then this woman was taken to the sea on the pretense that they were going on an excursion. The sign where she was thrown still exists today and is called the Barrier of Alexander. This particular species of snakes still exists in the world. Ordinary snakes do not have ears. However, the snakes that can turn into human beings have ears. A tribe of an unknown Adam is secluded within the mountains of China. Zulqarnain built a stone wall to prevent them from entering this region. They have very long ears and they use one ear as a bed sheet and other as a blanket. They are known as Gog-Magog. Science has discovered many regions, but there still remains a lot to be discovered. The Yetis, abominable snowmen, live behind the mountains of the Himalayas. A group of men lives in the forest also. Nobody knows their language. They also worship according to the principle taught by their Adam. They have a tribal system for discipline and principles of life. Besides these continents of Earth, there are many more planets, which the Moon, the Sun, the Jupiter and Mars, etc. Adams came there also. However, these planets have already witnessed doomsday. Some of these were destroyed by cutting off the supply of oxygen, and others were completely wiped out. Human life exists on Mars. Creatures made of fire live on the Sun. Mars. People of all religions live on Mars. Our scientists have not reached Mars yet. However, the Martians have been to Earth many times. They have taken with them a few men from here for experiments. They are far more advanced in scientific knowledge and invention than we are. Even if our satellites and scientists reach Mars, they cannot escape the Martians' hold. God granted an abundance of knowledge to one of the Adams. His progeny gained access to Baitul Ma'mur, house of the appointed one. Through that knowledge, they would hear on earth the commandments of God given to the angels. One day, the angels said, "O God, this nation is causing interference in our affairs. When we arrive in the world to accomplish our task, they have already found a deterrent." God directed Gabriel to test them. A 12-year boy was grazing goats, and Gabriel asked him, "Do you also possess some sort of knowledge?" The boy said, "Ask me." Gabriel said, "Tell me, where is Gabriel now?" The boy closed his eyes and said, "He's not in the skies." Gabriel asked, "Where is he?" The boy said, "He's not on any line either." Gabriel asked, "Then where is he?" The boy opened his eyes and said, "I have searched for him in the 14 levels of the 7 realms, but he's not anywhere. Either I am Gabriel or you are." Then God commanded the angels to drown this nation by flooding. They heard this decree of God. Hence they began to build homes with iron and glasses. They were destroyed through an earthquake. The ancient name of that region was Kalda, and now it is known as Greece. They, through spiritual knowledge, interfered with divine affairs, and now our scientists, through the knowledge of science, are causing interference with the affairs of God. In order to intimidate them, God plans destruction on a small scale, whereas a comet has been sent towards Earth for a total destruction. The comet is expected to fall on Earth in the next 20 to 25 years. That will be the last day of this world. A fragment of the comet has already fallen on Jupiter 2 years ago. The scientists are aware of this, and they plan to settle on the Moon or any other planet before the comet falls. Booking of the plots has already taken place on the Moon. They know that the basic elements of life, such as air, water, and plantation, are absent on the moon. Then what is this endeavor aimed at? If they are making all these efforts for scientific research, what is the benefit to humanity even if they have reached the moon and Jupiter? Have they discovered a breakthrough medicine which can prolong the aging process? Or a medicine that can defeat death? Even if our people reach Mars, they, due to the difference of oxygen on Earth and Mars, would not survive there. Money is being wasted on futile endeavors. Had the United States of America and Russia utilized the wealth on the poor, it would prosper all humanity. Just because they belong to different atoms, they are making atomic bombs to destroy each other, whereas the world is destined to come to an end by itself without needing bombs. The number of souls created in the heaven exceeded the limit. The souls of the elite, Muqarrib, were in the foremost row. Ordinary souls were sent into the nations of Adam that were created in this world. These Adams were created with black, white, yellow, and red clay. Gabriel, Harut, Marut taught them knowledge. As the Adams were created with clay in this world, the infernal jinns would manage to enter them, and their progeny's bodies, and would attempt to gain control over them. Then the prophet and the saints in those nations and the knowledge they taught were the means for their salvation. A majority of Adams were created in the form of pairs that initiated a chain of progeny. However, occasionally only a woman was created as Adam, and the progeny was initiated with the help of a command B. These nations still live in this world. In such tribes, only women are the leaders. Just because they are progeny of a woman, they perceive God also is a woman. They considered themselves to be the progeny of the angels. Since their female Adam's progeny was born without marriage and a male copulation, this custom is still part of their culture. The women of these tribes bear children by anyone and later marry some other men. They do not regard this custom as indecent. In accordance with the nature of the soul, the choice they made in the primordial signs, their destiny and their spiritual status, a similar natured Adam was sent to guide souls. Therefore, no proper religion was formulated for them. Any prophets sent into them were accepted, but by a few people only. Rather, most of them acted the opposite to the teachings of the prophets. Instead of God, they worshipped the moon, the stars, the sun, the trees, fire, and even the snakes. Eventually, Adam Safiullah was created in paradise with the clay thereof, so as to elevate him in eminence and superiority above all, and so that he may be protected against the infernal creatures. Because paradise was inaccessible to the infernal creatures, Azazel read the situation due to his intelligence. He was appointed the leader of the angels owing to his excessive worship. He was from the nation of the jinns. Out of jealousy, he spat on Adam's body, and by means of the saliva, a germ similar to an infernal creature penetrated the body of Adam, which is known as nafs. The progeny of Adam thus inherit the nafs. That is what this prophetic tradition, a satanic jinn is born with every human being, alludes to. The angels are different from the archangels. The angels dwell in Malakut, and the angels and the souls were created simultaneously. Above Malakut is Jabarut, and the creatures thereof are known as archangels, which existed well before the souls were created with the command B. God commanded the angels to prostrate before Adam Safiullah. No other Adam was created in the paradise previously. Neither had the angels prostrated before any other Adam. Azazel was reluctant and denied to prostrate before Adam Safiullah. Hence he was cursed. This is why he initiated enmity against the Adam Safiullah's progeny. Nations of the previous Adams were saved from the enmity of Azazel, and the infernal jinns sufficed to incite them. Since the Satan was more powerful than all the infernal jinns, he controlled and taught the progeny of Adam Safiullah such disgusting crime that the other nation reproached the Asians. An eminence of Adam Safiullah was the reason why those among his progeny whom God guided became sublime and eminent, that the other nations were stunned by their grandeur and envied them. The greatest celestial books, the Old Testament, the Psalms of David, the New Testament, and the Quran were revealed upon the messengers from among the progeny of Adam Safiullah. Through their teachings, benevolence, and blessings, the Asian religion spread among all nations of the world. The soul was not yet inserted in the body of Adam Safiullah, and the angels realized that he too was being created to be sent into the world. They knew for sure that the man made with clay dwells on earth only, and then God sent Adam into the world on some divine pretext. God himself plots the eternal acts, and the humans are held blameworthy for them. Had Adam Safiullah been sent without being tricked into blame, he would have always complained and grumbled in the world. He would not repent or cry in modesty, would he? If the predestined hellbound souls are born in a non-religious household, they turn into kafir, rejecter of the truth, and kadhib, those who label the truth as lie. These individuals are the atheists, the enemies of the prophets and the saints. They are arrogant and stone-hearted men. They find pleasure in harming the creatures of God. The second category of the souls remain naive of the religions even if they adopt a religion. They turn into hypocrites in the case that they are born in a religious household. Such individuals are blasphemous to the prophet, jealous of the saints, and cause mischief in the religions. Their worship also is wasted like that of Iblis. The religion draws them towards the paradise, but their fate pulls them towards the hellfire. Since they remain deprived of the support and assistance of the prophets and the saints, therefore they are easily incited by their nafs and trapped in evil plots. Afflicted by the Satan, they perceive that they possess sufficient knowledge and perform excessive worship, hence they see no difference between the prophets and themselves. Then they begin to consider themselves as a prophet without peeping into their inner self, and they perceive that even the saints stand in need of them. They do not admit knowledge of spirituality and miracles. Nevertheless, they only accept the act which they are able to perform. They reject even the miracles of the prophets and label them as magic. They admit the powers of Iblis, the devil, but they are reluctant to admit the divine might which God invests in prophets and the saints. When a predestined heaven-bound soul takes birth in a non-religious household or in an impure environment, it is known as mazur, helpless. Mazur may qualify for the bakshish, concession, and divine pardon. These are the souls that seek the favor of the saints in their pursuit of Siratul Mustaqim and to exit from the quicksand of sins. They are kind, humble, and generous. If the predestined heaven-bound soul takes birth in a religious household that practices a celestial religion, is known as Sadiq, natural believer, and Mu'min, enlightened believer. These are the ones that through extensive ibadah, worship and riyada, extensive worship and struggle, obtain God's nearness and become worthy of divine inheritance. Prophetic tradition, fakhr, spiritual poverty is my pride and it is from me. The heart has a central and very important role in spirituality. The discipline raised the heartbeats in many ways, such as striking beats on the respective stability, dancing, kabaddi, a type of sport, building walls, demolishing them, and through physical exercises. Then it becomes easier to synchronize the word Allah within the heartbeats, and gradually word Allah itself reach all the subtleties of breast. Some people without profound knowledge and awareness started to initiate them, but they failed. They adopted the method of repeating the word Allah while dancing. Neither did they know of the synchronization of the heartbeats with God's name, nor did they manage to achieve it. Nevertheless, their biospirit, which represent physical activity, became familiar with God's name. A repetition of the word Allah with music strengthens the botanical spirit, and it also becomes familiar with the word Allah. Music is the sustenance for the botanical spirit. In the United States of America, an experiment was conducted on some crops through music. Similar crops were sowed in similar soil. Music was played constantly 24/7 on the one crop, and the other was kept without music. The one with the music was better in growth than the other. The nafs is a rigid tormentor. Even after the purification, the nafs is fond of making pretexts. It likes sound and music. Some individual tried to change its direction toward God through music. Some people repeated the word Allah while playing the guitar, and reached the worship by ears, though they could not obtain anything further. A guitarist relayed to me a story that he, as a hobby in his leisure time, used to invoke upon Allah while playing the guitar. Occasionally, as he woke up, he heard the invocation of Allah from within himself in the same manner. These people are better than singers, musicians, and listeners. Nevertheless, they could not reach any rank of sainthood. Such people are enthusiastic, zealous, and in search for God. Through a perfect spiritual guide, they may reach their spiritual destiny. Sufis in Islam and other religions also adopted the way of observing God's name through various means and methods. Anything that directs one towards God and increases in his love is not disallowed. Tradition of the Prophet. God looks at the intentions, not the actions. People of the Sharia, religious law, label it as blameworthy and wrong because they are content and satisfied with Sharia. But those who want to go beyond Sharia and want to obtain God's love, or those who don't practice Sharia, should not be halted from seeking a substitute. The religion of God. All religions were established by the Prophet in this world. However, prior to this, God himself was love, the lover and beloved. And for the souls that were in nearness, the divine manifestation and the love of God was the religion of God. Then these souls, when they were sent to this world, sacrificed all their possession in order to reach God. The religion of God was primarily confined to the elite only, and now it has been made accessible to the common folks also, through the widespread of spiritual knowledge. A prophetic tradition narrated by Abu Huraira. I received two different types of knowledge from the Prophet Muhammad. I told you of one. You would kill me if I told you the another. I received two different types of knowledge from Prophet Muhammad. I told you of one. You would kill me if I told you the other. When Maulana Rumi's spiritual guide pulled up the dry books from the pound, Maulana Rumi explained, "What is it?" "Shah Shams," the guide said, "you are not aware of this knowledge." Moses asked God, "Is there any other type of knowledge apart from what you have bestowed upon me?" God directed Moses towards Khidr Vishnu Maharaj. Every worshipper's prayer, "O God, guide me onto the straight path, the one of those that you are pleased with." The famous poet of the East, Iqbal, said, "And what does a naive clergyman know of it, the religion of God?" The souls which were granted ranks in the primordial time loved God, and God loved them. Such souls remained loyal to God in the world also. Jesus Christ miraculously spoke in infancy and announced that he was a messenger. The Archangel Gabriel had already given glad tidings of Jesus' birth to Mother Mary. Pharaoh had been foretold of a child's birth in a certain tribe who would cause destruction to him, and that the child would be one of the elite servants of God. Prophet Muhammad also said, "I was already a prophet prior to my arrival in this world." Many of the loving and the predestined souls are present in various religions and bodies. Observations. Deen-e-Ilahi, God's religion. God has sent to the world 1,24,000 prophets and 5 grand messengers for the guidance of humankind, and they have established 330 different religions to facilitate humankind to earn paradise and reach their ultimate destiny. Deen literally means lifestyle. Deen-e-Ilahi is God's lifestyle. God's lifestyle is a religion of God, and it is as ancient as God himself. God is all love, and he manifests his attributes on daily basis. To be able to adopt God's lifestyle is to adopt God's religion. Many religious scholars may not comprehend its unique nature and subtle application. However, God's religion is above all religions. In the end, God will send forth one of the above-mentioned souls. He will find and unite them together, and he will remind them that they also once loved God. All such souls, whether or not they are religious, will attend to his call and flock around him. He will grant them a unique name of God which will pass through their hearts and settle in their souls. The souls will constantly engage with the repetition of that name. The soul will become a permanent dhakir. The unique name of God will confer on them a brand new enthusiasm, a new power, and a new definition of love. The Noor, divine energy of the unique name of God, will reconnect the soul with God. Zikr Qalb serves like an intermediary ladder to obtaining Zikr-e-Ruh, invocation of the soul. Just as the rituals of the Salat, a form of worship, and fasting are means of obtaining the invocation of the heart. If the soul of an individual has learned to invoke God, he is among those who shall have no fear of accountability and the divine scale on the day of judgment. The advanced stages of invocation and worship of soul confirm his elevated rank. Individuals that are progressing in spirituality from heart towards the soul are among those who have entered the religion of God or are about to enter it. Their means of guidance is God's light, not the book. God's light itself keeps them away from committing sins, and those who, even by striving or by learning about it, are deprived of this spiritual status are not included in this spiritual league. Heretics are those that, without invocation of the heart and the soul, consider themselves among those in the spiritual league or imitate them. The means of salvation for common folks is worship and religion. The means of guidance are the celestial books. The means of intercession are through the prophets and the saints. Many Muslims do not accept the fact that the saints can provide people with intercession to God. However, Prophet Muhammad advised his companions to request Uwais Qarni to provide his ummah following with intercession to God. Religion of the souls. Recognition of the followers of Deen Ilahi. The religion of God, into which all the rivers merge, is known as an ocean, and into which all the religions merge is the religion of God. This is the divine avenue where all four religions intermingle. Sultan Haqbahu. The elementary stage of recognition. When both the heart and the soul are revived with God's remembrance, whether it is through performance of worship or through merciful sight of the spiritual guide. In both cases, it is predestined. The seeker begins to disapprove of sins, and if a sin is committed, he feels blameworthy and makes effort to avoid it in the future. God says, I like those individuals also who exert themselves to refrain from sins. Love of the world starts to live off the heart, and God love starts to prevail. The seeker begins to feel he is getting rid of greed, jealousy, stinginess, and false pride. The tongue quits backbiting. The seeker observes humility in him. Stinginess is replaced by generosity, and the lies leaves off. Prohibited carnal desires are replaced by lawful ones. The seeker begins to disapprove of unlawful wealth, prohibited provision, and actions. The ultimate stage of recognition. One completely quits hashish, opium, heroin, tobacco, and alcohol. One meets highly spiritual dignitaries in dreams, meditation, and through spiritual insight. Nafs al-Ammara, the commanding self, turns into Nafs al-Mutmainna, the divinely content self. The Ana enters in a private audience with God. All the veils between God and the man are lifted. One shuns the sin. One obtains the ultimate station in God's love and union with Him. He turns into a provider from being a simple man. Since souls of the elite from different religions would join the spiritual league, as they had already affirmed a declaration of faith before God on the primordial day, and God had witnessed it, therefore the affiliation with a religion would not be a problem, and anyone from any religion would be able to join it. All would be allowed to worship according to their respective religions. However, their hearts would bear the same name of God. In short, they would be united in hearts regardless of their religious background. They will become godly when they will have God in their hearts. Subsequent to this, God may either confine somebody to Himself or send anybody as a guide in any religion. There will be different categories for them. Mufid, useful to render guidance. Munfarid, good for himself. Soldiers, commanders. The supporters and helpers from the category of sinners also will reach some kind of rank. Many of those Muslims or non-Muslims who fail to join this League of Mahdi would join the Antichrist, the Dajjal. In the end, there will be a bloody war between the forces of Imam Mahdi and the Antichrist.
followers of Jesus Christ, Imam Mahdi and Kalki Avatar will be united and will defeat the Antichrist. The majority of the followers of the Antichrist will be killed, and their survivors will live in fear and helplessness quietly. Imam Mahdi and Jesus will reign over the hearts of humanity. Peace will prevail in the entire world. All the religions will perish, and a new religion will emerge that will be God's favorite religion, Ishq-e-Allah, God's rapturous love. The gist of all religions established by the prophets and their celestial books, acceptable to the entire humankind, superior to all forms of worship, even greater than God's love. Faith is not aware of where the rapturous love of God can take the seeker to. Sultan Haqbahu Iqbal had drawn a picture of this time. The world needs the Mahdi whose vision will shake the foundation of universal thoughts. The hidden secrets are to reveal, for the era of the Hadith phrase, "You cannot see me," has gone past. Whoever's personal identity of the self becomes known first is the awaited Imam Mahdi. Open my eyes in the mirror of comprehension and see for yourself the vague picture of the future. Look at the sky, the earth, the space, the rising sun from the east. O giver of the wine, the era when the drinkers would hide and drink is history now. The entire world will be a tavern one day, and every soul on earth a drinker. The time for unveiling is nigh. Seeing the divine splendor will be common. The secret that silence kept veiled will soon manifest now. Emerging from the desert, who toppled up the Roman Empire, I heard angels saying that the lion will be in action again. None of the celestial books or Sahifa, random inspiration from God, is God's religion. These books direct the followers to adopt salat, fasting and growing a beard, whereas God is carefree of such restraints. These religions were established to enlighten and purify the nations of the Prophet, whereas God himself is the purest form of light. When a man, after union with God, becomes light, then he too enters the religion of God. God's religion is his love and affection. It is the translation and definition of his 99 names. God is one who makes mention of his friends. God himself is love, lover and beloved. Should God grant a man a portion from the attributes mentioned above, then he too enters the religion of God. Then seeing God is his worship, salat, and the remembrance of God is his longing. The seeing of God provides atonement for his missed obligatory and non-obligatory rituals. Then, not even the collective worship of the jinns, the angels, the entire human race can reach his spiritual level. For such a person, Abdul Qadir Jilani said, "Worship or its intent after one has acquired union with God is a grave ingratitude to divine bounty." Bulle Shah said, "Since we adopted the worship of Ishq, we became forgetful of mosques and temples." Iqbal said, "A naive clergyman may not be aware of such a delightful divine bounty." With reference to this secretive doctrine did Abu Huraira say, "Muhammad granted to me knowledge of two types. I told you of one of the types. You would kill me if I told you the other." The history bears witness to the fact that whoever revealed this knowledge was killed, as Shah Mansur and Sarmad were. And today even Gohar Shahi, due to his revealing of this knowledge, is threatened with similar consequences. The prophets abide by the Sharia law to become a model for Ummah nation, so that they may imitate and follow. Otherwise, they do not need to worship. They have the rank of prophethood since primordial time, long before the existence of Sharia law. Since they have to perfect the religion as a model, if the prophet miss out any of the rituals or if they adopt an act, their nation imitates them. Hence, they have to remain careful and sober. Can anyone be justified to say that a prophet will enter the hellfire if he does not worship? Not at all. Can anyone be justified to say that one cannot be a prophet if he does not worship? Can anyone claim that one cannot become a prophet if he does not learn the knowledge? Why are the saints made subject to objections? Note that sainthood is a substitute to prophethood. Remember, those that claim to possess unification and union with God without seeing God, or perceive themselves to be worthy of this status and pretended to be as such, are heretics and deniers of truth. Verily, the Quran curses such liars who deny the truth. Due to them, thousands of believers lose their faith and happen to waste their valuable time. This book is worthy of research and consideration for all religions, sects, and all humanity, and is a life challenge to those who refute spirituality.